This is a collaboration art craft project that we're doing. Okay, got your toilet paper roll, right? See these things in houses all the time when you're showing them, etc. Make sure your sellers and everyone knows when you take photos, this will stand out in your photos big time. If it looks terrible in your bathrooms, your photo's gonna look really not very good. So what I like to do, and I'll explain why I do it and how to do it, is this nice little touch. See that? See the little envelope there? That right there is the gold. Now, let me show you what I mean and why I do this. Let's see. Here's the reason. I'm going to close this little chat window I've opened. So, can I close this? I'm going to hide thumbnails. Okay. It will remind you to fill paper rolls, right? So, first of all, make sure they're full and not empty. A lot of this presentation in the beginning is going to be about preparing your sellers for photos. So, it reminds you to pay attention to the detail, that you pay attention to the details. So I've got a little sample there on the left. You'll see if you just set it flat out on your table and then just fold kind of like, you'd do a gift for Christmas on the ends, you'll get a nice little added touch with the triangle there, right? Looks real nice. But the other important thing is your sellers are going to see it. And when they go to use the toilet, they're going to go, wow, my realtor is awesome. So that's why I do it. And I hope you will consider doing it yourself. All right, we're gonna start.
That was ready to rock here.
That was my bonus. That was my bonus for all y'all.
Bonus. Well, welcome everybody to our Tech Tuesday today, and obviously Dan Wilson is running the show. If you have questions that, if he's in the middle of something and you just want to throw something into the chat at the bottom of everybody's page, there's a little chat icon, and as long as you type it to everyone, I'm going to try and keep my eyes on the chat so that Dan can kind of be moving through his presentation, and I'll make sure he's aware of any questions that pop up. And I think that, unless it gets crazy, you're welcome to ask questions. And with that, we'll just let you rock and roll. Dan, thanks for doing this.
Sweet. Yeah. Hope it's going to be helpful, and we'll do some more comments. If you have any questions, maybe save some of it for the end so we can go through and I can go into more detail and stuff. But we just want to get through this for people that want to do the whole crash course as fast as we can. So we're going to the next slide. So who am I? I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing photography as a hobby for 15 years. Ever since I was a kid, I just was interested in technology and cameras. And so I do nerd out a little bit, but not to the extent that the tech nerds do and the photographers. So don't put me in that boat. I'm here for you guys as a practical nerd and a penny pincher. And there's my contact. I'll send you these slides at the end. Okay, today's discussion, I'm going to go over the basics of photography, a real basic version, because if you want a good foundation, you're going to need to do the research on your own for time-saving purposes. Talk about preparing your sellers for photos and your listing, types of cameras that exist and what might be best for you, equipments and costs, taking your best photos, and then a little bit of editing as well. Okay, so this is my down and dirty 4 things you need to know about a camera that are the most important. One being the aperture, the other being the shutter speed. These are the only things that you're ever changing for the most part in a camera that will affect how your photos turn out. If you read into detail on some of these, the tighter you get your aperture, that's that little diaphragm in the middle of the camera, the less light it's gonna let in, it's gonna be a bit sharper image. Shutter speed's gonna control how fast the camera takes a shot, and that will impact how much light is going into the camera. It will also impact the shake factor you have when you hold a camera and it's a long exposure. Or if you want it to be really clear for like sport photography, you're gonna have to have a really fast shutter speed. You're gonna have to have a lot of light as well. White balance is the tone of the image. So is it warm, is it cool? You can see this too when people use those daylight light bulbs in houses, and it drives you mad because it drives me mad because it makes the house look really cool, which you can make up for that in your camera. ISO is film sensitivity. So the higher you go on your film sensitivity, the more grain will be introduced to your image. We can talk about that a bit later. So like I said, you can go into these concepts a little further on your own. I encourage that you do. Okay, preparing the seller. This is a big, almost every single property that I go into, like a listing broker, I'll be like, it's ready. The seller said it's ready. It's almost never ready. Let's be real. So go there ahead of time, especially if you're hiring out a photographer, and go through each room and area and make sure that things are put away. Little items like garbage cans and plungers and soap bottles and little tiny things just people forget about. So removing clutter is very important. Time of day, super important. What I like to do is just go on Google Maps, look at the property address on Google Maps, and take a look at how does the house look when Google Maps drove by and took a photo. You can just scroll to where the sun is and see where the light looks like on the house. If it looks pretty good, a lot of times Google goes out midday. So it's probably midday is going to be a good time to take photos. I prefer to take photos when the sun's high, so I don't have direct light in windows, and I'm trying to fight really bright light coming in through windows. So sometime around 11 o'clock or noon, depending on the time of year, good time to take some photos. Turn on all the lights. Every single light you can possibly turn on, unless it's a really ugly light, turn it on. Under cabinet lighting, turn it on. Most people forget that. And then, guess, man, you just shot yourself in the foot. People don't know it has under cabinet lighting, which is pretty cool, a nice little feature. Open up your windows. Show off the blinds if you like. If they're nice blinds, show off the blinds. If they're not, pull them down. I will rip stuff down and I'll say, sorry, man. I want you to sell your house. I want it to look good. I'm pulling those blankets down, and I might even pull your blinds down. Be careful with that. If you damage their house, then you're probably going to be footing the bill. Close the curtain, open the curtain. If I'm talking about a bathroom here, if you have a nice surround, you might want to show off the surround, right? If it's ugly, just close the curtain. You can also hide stuff in the bathtub. Super bonus tip for you. Anything you go in the bathtub, close that curtain, you're good to go. Remove some clutter. Let's see. Bring some light bulbs with you. Okay, so yeah, super important. I always keep light bulbs in my car. Always. A big stack of them. Different sizes, different bulbs. And you'll be their savior when you come to take photos and they're missing light bulbs or things are burnt out and you have them in your car. So that makes you look really good as a listing agent. Okay, we talked about this. There's a little example on the left of how to quickly just do these little folds. But that little attention to detail will put you ahead of the rest as far as how things look on your photos and impressing your sellers. All right, doing your research and getting a camera. Got a few different cameras and options. I think at the end what we'll do is I'll actually show you all my gear and why I have what I have. Excuse me, a little Croy going here. So we've got mirrorless cameras, which are kind of the newer style. They're just about as powerful as a digital SLR camera, but they're smaller, right? They're powerful. You can change the lenses out, and they're also pretty pricey as well. I tend to find myself using my mirrorless camera quite a bit more than my main camera overall, just because of the size of it. I can move it. The versatility of being able to just throw it in my glove box and go is great. DSLR camera, the price can be pretty low on these, and it can go up really high. What I recommend for you guys as realtors, and that may or may not be wanting to get into doing this as a lifestyle, is to get just a cheap DSLR camera. And I'll talk about that in the next slide, and getting a nicer lens. So spend some money on the lens. Those really don't depreciate. The cameras do. So you can pick up a used DSLR camera for pretty dang cheap, super cheap. In fact, I found my spare camera that I use for like $100 on eBay right now. That's in good condition, super cheap. Lens won't be as cheap, but you can still get a nice one for around $200. Or another option, if you're the handy cell phone, you like your cell phone, just get a nice cell phone. The newer cell phones have wide angle lenses, and they will do some pretty good real estate photos right out of the camera. So you don't need to overthink it with getting this fancy gear unless you absolutely want to dive into that space. Tips for buying used. I'll give you guys this link, but that website, Adorama.com, has some really good used cameras. Will tell you how many shots have been taken by the camera and what condition it's in. Same with eBay. I've had really good luck. I bought most of my cameras used on eBay, And like I said, read those descriptions thoroughly before you decide to purchase. Shutter count is important. If you buy used, the cameras are only rated to last a certain amount of time. So if you buy one that's got 200,000 shots on it, well, it might not last you very long. In fact, my spare camera has 127,827 photos. That's 128% of the model's expected shutter life. So I wouldn't buy my camera from me. Don't buy my camera. It's been used too much. Who knows when it's going to die? It's another reason I shoot Nikon. I've really never had any of my cameras go down at all. So as far as a brand that lasts a long time, I do recommend Nikon. I also shoot with Sony. And then, like I said, if you buy it used, go to that site, load a photo in. It'll tell you how many shots the camera's taken, and make sure you didn't get taken for a ride there. It's kind of like the tack on your car. Okay, if you want to do it all camera, I'll show you my equipment in the end. Just buckle down, spend the money, and get a Sony A6500. This thing can do just about anything you want it to do. It's in a small form factor, great for video, and super versatile. This is my camera I pretty much carry around with me all the time. However, I recommend you guys just get a really cheap alternative camera if you're looking to just dabble in getting nice photos. So a Nikon D90 or better, and there's tons of used options. You can just Google Nikon models. Just want to make sure you get something semi-modern, not really, really old. The lenses are transferable by just about any old model up to any new model, which is nice. So you aren't, if you decide, wow, I really like this, I enjoy this, your lens will still work for your, if you want to upgrade your camera. So I do recommend.
What's that? Is that from brand to brand? Like Nikon doesn't transfer over to Canon and vice versa, right?
Somewhat. I know there's some adapters that you can get, but it's gonna kind of push you into one brand or the other. So think about maybe even go out and play around with a few different models and see what the feel of the camera, what you like best, what brand, because you're kind of stuck with it once you start buying lenses. That being said, the lenses don't lose their value as much as the body of the camera. So it's not that big of a deal. You can always turn around and sell those lenses pretty quick. The other lens, the cheap lens that I use, I wouldn't say cheap, it's a mid-range, is a Sigma 10 to 20 millimeter. Makes for really nice wide angle shots in the bathrooms and makes areas look a little bit larger than they actually are, which can piss some people off. But you know what? I want our houses to look as big and awesome as they can. That's what I use. Like I said, at the bottom, a typical kit lens will not work. And the reason is they usually start at a higher zoom than 16 millimeter. If it is 16 millimeter as a stock lens, like the Sony A65, you can get the stock lens at 16, which is nice. That'll work just fine for real estate. More gear. If you want to get a flash, I don't think flash is really that necessary. If you are getting into it big time, then get a flash. If not, just lower your exposure to take a longer exposure and brighten the room that way, or bump your ISO up, which is what we'll talk about later. I'm just going to show you really quick what it looks like flash-wise if you don't use a flash. So this would be the ideal image using HDR, which is just on board on the camera of the room I'm in right now. This other image is straight out of the camera with the right exposure, compensating a bit for the window, but you can see it's overexposed in the window. This is with a flash bouncing off the ceiling. You can see outside the window towards my neighbor's house, and some of the other details still look pretty nice. And this is the flash straight on at the camera. You can see the lighting is not quite as good, and you've got more shadows, and this, the fern's blurry and things like that. So I really don't recommend, if you get a flash, to shoot straight on. Shoot at the ceiling and bounce it off the ceiling. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. Definitely you're gonna need a tripod. You can get any basic tripod on Amazon. I think they have an Amazon Basics one for $30 right now that you can grab. So tripod's important, especially with a darker house, because you're not going to be able to take a clean image without a tripod in a darker house. It's not going to happen handheld. The reason for that being the exposure is longer, so the natural shake of your hand is going to make it look blurry. Okay, so familiarize yourself and take photos. Once you get a camera, use it. Use it all the time. Play around with it. Take photos of every little thing you can to get comfortable with it. What I like to tell people that get a more advanced or digital SLR camera is to try it in different modes. I'll show you, there are little dials on the top of the camera that have like default modes. So you've got auto mode, which basically let the camera decide the exposure. Program mode, which you have some control. You can spin your dials and it will tell you what the camera thinks is the right exposures and give you some ideas as to being creative with that. Shutter priority mode is more for sport focused stuff. So if you're gonna be taking photos of your kids out on the sport court, that's a great one for you. And manual mode, that's what I use 99.9% of the time because I'm a nerd. Okay, so talking more about manual mode, there are those 4 we talked about earlier concepts that you'll need to be adjusting when you mess around with getting into manual mode with your camera, being the white balance, the aperture, shutter speed, and your ISO. So there's just a few little things in there you can read through that to pay attention to. The white balance will make things either warmer or cooler in your image. The aperture and the shutter speed will affect the brightness of the shot and also the clarity of the shot. And the ISO is going to affect how grainy the shot is. It will also play into the available light that you have. So if you have your ISO on auto, even if your camera is on auto mode, it's going to bump that up to compensate for being dark. And it will make for a pretty grainy shot if it's really dark. That's when you'll need the flash. Framing the shot. This is important with any camera you have. You guys will get some value out of this. So I've got some photos here. This is the same house. A realtor took this photo. I took the photo in the bottom. And I'll explain why I did what I did and how I did it.
Hey, Dan, real quick.
Yeah.
I think, Viola, I think you just joined us and your phone's not muted and it's getting a little bit of feedback. Do you mind checking that real quick?
No, did you mute?
There you are. Thank you so much. It was...
Sorry.
No problem.
Do we need to mute everyone here?
You could do that real quick just to make sure because it was giving a little feedback.
Right. Let's see. My chat here. Oh, it's in participants, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not very good at managing the Zoom meetings here. All right, I'm going to mute you. Yes. All right, everyone's muted. I've allowed you to unmute yourself, Matt. I close that. Perfect. Okay, back to framing the shot. So what I like to do when I go into a house is to go into the corner of each room and take a photo. No photo, I mean, even if it's a bad photo, having the option of a photo that may be good or bad is great, because you may find, oh man, I forgot what that furnace was at the house, right? So take a photo at each corner. I've even found when I took a shot at a corner of a room that I thought would be like not the ideal winning photo, it was. So don't fool yourself into thinking that you're like this awesome photographer. Let the camera and the image decide. Get low in bathrooms and areas with low ceilings. So bathrooms are tough just because they're always kind of small and you're sandwiched in with a door. Typically, first of all, make sure the toilet's closed. Big item there. Typically, I'll get pretty low in bathrooms. It seems to be the style people are looking for in a bathroom shot, kind of like where the vanity is mostly in focus, and you could see some of the tile or whatever the outline of the bathroom in the background. Crop out unnecessary or cluttered areas. So you'll see in this photo, I've actually moved forward over the shot that the realtor took. You can see the top of the beam of the house is in that shot. And there's just too much going on, too much background noise, and the focus isn't really the kitchen. The kitchen's a little weird in this house. It's like sandwiched on a wall, but this one doesn't have focus on the kitchen area, which I wanted to get because it's a nice little kitchen. So think about the background. Also note that when you show off like a master bedroom, you might want to show that it's got that attached bath if it does. So stepping back and pointing towards the bathroom where the door you can see into the bathroom, good idea, especially to throw that in as one of your images so people know that it's attached. They may not look into your description to see that as a feature for the house. Focusing on special features. If you have a special feature in the house, like this one has a nice backsplash or tile or anything that's really kind of unique about it, zoom in on it and get a picture. And even you can use this for your social media. You could then, pop your phone out and start doing a video about like, hey dude, check out how cool this laundry chute is. And there's like something simple like that just reminds people you're a realtor and you're seeing cool stuff out at houses. So you have a nice little bonus. And I like to include that too. So a big thing on the special features would be like focusing in on a jetted tub or that has a nice backsplash or a big walk-in master or walk-in closet, right? You want to show that off even if it's a little cluttered so people know that it has that big closet. Okay, practice your photo yoga skills. I'm gonna drink some water real quick. I'm doing this a lot. I'm like these little lemurs jumping into corners and stuff to get photos. So good stretching habits by getting in the corners of bathrooms, hopping in a tub, and taking the photo from the tub has actually worked pretty well for me, especially in bathrooms that are really hard to get that shot, that have a mirror pointed straight at you, something like that. Get low, try shots from different angles. See what happens, see what it looks like. You can always delete the photo if it sucks. All right, avoid your arch enemy. Mirror, mirror on the wall, we're gonna find you. You're gonna look silly, so don't do it. Be careful with mirrors. What you can do to avoid this is either step further into that bathroom in this image and try and get a shot from the corner. This one's kind of a tough one, or get really low so that you're not in the shot. Or you can also put your camera on a tripod and it's better than you being in the photo, right? Third option is to edit it out. And if you do that, make sure when you have your camera or whatever positioned, is positioned in a backdrop that is easily editable. So if there was a bunch of weird busy windows and things in this mirror, there'd be no way that I could reasonably, unless maybe I paid someone to edit some crazy stuff in, that I could edit that background out. So just be a little careful with mirrors. All right, here's my live photo session breakdown. It's going to be realtor versus me. And guess who won? Not the realtor. This is their listing photos from the prior listing. Same exact house, few different details have changed. So this is their living room shot. And this is my living room shot. Right? There's a little bit of difference. So I've got more of a zoom lens. In this instance, in this photo, they've got this table's too front and center, and the salt shaker is really not adding value. So same with the coat. A little bit cluttered with the family images. You might want to remove a few of those things. The blender really not doing a ton of help, but it's probably okay. The garbage can, though, is not helping us at all. So removing those items will help a lot. So I moved just a little more forward center, got the kitchen a little blurred out, but my focus here is kind of that lifestyle of in the living room with the windows and the sun coming in. This one here, just a little bit dark. You can see that the beam is exposed here, which kind of looks weird in the image. And there's really not a big focal point. I'm guessing that they were trying to get the kitchen here. Oh, you can see the dog dishes as well. So those little things, people are going to notice. It's just going to, it's a subconscious thing. You don't think about it, but I'm going like, this house isn't really that great. It's a little bit cluttered, a little bit gross. So there's that image again, focusing in a little more on the kitchen and having the subject matter be that space. You can see in the background, I've got, the lighting in the hallway, nice and bright, and that room in the other room. So pay attention to what you can see beyond the image you're taking, because if this room was really dark here, I'd have to light it up, or it would just make the image feel a lot more dark and more closed. This is the master bedroom in this house. And you can see it's pretty dark. The windows are pretty blown out as far as their detail goes. Here's a little bit better image than the one I took. And I think I used HDR to get the windows a little bit in focus and bring in some of the brightness and warmth to the room. This is just a bad shot overall. Too tight on the the fireplace, and there's just a lot of clutter. So this is the shot that I chose versus that one. Stepping back a little bit, letting them know how that connects to the living room, and then brightening up some of the dark areas in this fireplace. Since it wasn't, you can actually see the shadows here. So some of this is just kind of supplemental editing that I did to brighten that area up. I could have used a flash, but I really try and avoid using a flash. Bathroom, just a little bit dark, but really it's one of their best photos, so I'm not going to dog on them too much. And this is just with a better lens and a longer exposure. And I've got the toilet paper looking good there. You notice I pay attention to that stuff. Oh, and you can see I removed all the toiletries in the shower. Look at that down there. Wrong. Nope, don't do that. Okay, so hopefully that little walkthrough of those photos will help you just pay attention to some of the details when you're out there at your listings. Oh, I don't think I'm editing yet. Oh, I guess I am. Cool. All right, we've gone through a lot here. So editing your photos. I'm going to do a live photo edit session with you guys. Hang on, let me start my presentation one more time so I can show you the steps here. So, I mean, yes, these aren't the same images, but I'll show you how you could take an image like this and clean it up to make it a little more bright. So we're going to, step 1, adjust our brightness or our exposure. Step 2, adjust our contrast, enhance vibrance, remove highlights, do some dodging tools, crop out distractions, and export it to a reasonable size. The reality of real estate photos is they're all going online. So for you to take a 12 megapixel or bigger photo of this image here isn't going to make it any better. So I like to just take reasonably sized photos and go from there. Let me show you how I do some editing real quick. And I'll show you, I did this with a free program just so that I could be fair, since I use a more professional program for myself. This is just a basic house of foreclosure that we're working on fixing up. This is just snaps right out of my camera, and this would be the image that I had adjusted, a lot brighter in certain areas. So we're going to take that photo, the dark Euclid photo, and I'm going to enhance it with the free online software. You can also do this with Canva, canva.com. But I like to use, if I had nothing that I didn't want to pay for a software, I'd go to photop.com. That's photo P as in peas, like split pea soup. And all you need to do here is grab your image, and you can drag and drop it right in. Boom. Okay, we've got our image in the program. From here, you're just going to go to your image icon there and go to adjustment, and you can change lots of the details here. You can really dive in if you want to try and optimize your image. But the most important thing is that you're going to be brightening up this image to make it look more appealing. So we can play with that brightness slider and see what that does to the image. Makes it a little too bright in areas. As I go, you'll see some of the details lost in the background as I increase that brightness. Contrast will pull in some of those colors. It'll also bring in some of the blacks, the black areas. It'll bring some detail into that. So even just moving those sliders around just a little bit, you've got so much better of an image to work with, and a more appealing starting place for when people are looking at those thumbnails through their platform, right? Zillow, whatever, they're going to see a little thumbnail. You want to have a really appealing thumbnail image of all your areas. So if I wanted to make this look even better, I could pull in like some of my healing tools, right? So I could use this dodge tool and make it a little bit larger and brighten up. brighten up spots on the image. And you could play around with that and decide to just call it good at what we have. But there's a lot you can do in this program, and there's a lot of other ones that are just like it. Once you're done, you just go to your file, export as JPEG, and then choose what quality you'd like. Try and keep them under a megabyte per image. So you'll see the JPEG size increases as you increase the quality. So around 200 kilobytes is great. And we'll just say save. And now we've got our image, which is a lot better than what we started out with. So that's a good basic place to start. All right, let's see, I'll show off some of my equipment so you guys can see it. Let me stop the share. Oh, cool. Can you guys see me? We good? See, Matt's not unmuted. Oh, all right, I'll unmute you, Matt. I don't know if you've been talking or not. I'm hoping I didn't like brush through things so fast that you're all confused.
No, I don't think so. And I think that, do you want to open up for some questions before you show equipment, or do you think equipment would be helpful at this point?
I mean, if someone has a question, ask it now, but I'll go over equipment.
You can also put your questions into the chat. I'm keeping my eye on that, and then I can ask it for you as well.
Okay, I'll go over it real quick. This guy here is my sub $400 camera. It's a Nikon D90, which you can get on eBay for like, I don't know, $100. And then the lens is a couple $100. It's a Sigma 10 to 20 millimeter. Let's see. You can't see it very well. Sigma 10 to 20. You can see it right there on the dial. Yeah. This is not easy to do with a laptop screen. Anyways, this is a good option for you if you just want to get started for cheap. Like I said, spend a little more money on that lens because you'll want it. The kit lens on a camera, it's not going to work super well for you. It just won't be wide enough. Let's see. I can show you my big rig. This is the big boy here. And I've got a flash attached to it. This is so you can, this flash here, you can get them for pretty cheap. There's called speed lights. You adjust it however you want to get an image. But shooting that flash straight at the ceiling will bring a lot of light into the photo and make your shots a little bit better. Avoid doing that shooting straight out. If you shoot something flat straight out, you're gonna get really harsh shadows, especially on ceiling fans and things like that. What smartphone is the best quality pics? It's a bit of a gamble. I have a Pixel 4, which is it takes amazing pictures overall, but it doesn't have wide angle. So I would get like an iPhone 11 if you can, is with that wide angle. Like spend a little more and get that extra lens. The Samsung with a wide angle lens, all their phones take amazing photos. I have it in that worksheet. I attached it earlier. I don't know if you guys can see it. If you scroll all the way up in the chat, I actually have a link for a clip over lens for your phone. So you
might want to put that back in. It's not showing up in the group chat, at least that I can see.
It's not at the top there?
No.
I'll put it back in.
We'll put it back in for everybody. So a couple questions. Let me get back to those. So Tracy asked, can you tell me how to get the correct JPEG size? She wrote down 1280 by 720. Is that correct?
That's fine. I'd probably even go a little larger because you lose quality at that size. So 1920 by 1080 is about right. If you can get them right around in that spot, that's kind of a sweet spot. It's not a terrible size. It's okay. But yeah, if you zoom in, you'll see it's a little bit grainy. So you can use a resizing program I actually in that document, I have a suggestion for that, especially for Windows users, that has a batch resizer. So you can take all your files in one and say, go to this size, and it will do it all for you instead of having to go one by one and resize that image. But you want to make sure they're going to come out big out of your camera, like huge. And so,
even out of Even out of a smartphone, they come out big, so
Yeah,
you're going to need to size them down.
They're around 4 megabytes. Here, I'll show you something real quick and dirty if you have a Windows computer. Hang on. Can I do screen again? If any of you guys have Windows, so their new Photos program is built into Windows 10. So if I were to just take any image and open it with, here, let's take my nicer one. Open with Photos. I think it will automatically do it for me. It already has some editability built into it, so you could go to edit and create and then hit edit. And that allows you to do similar stuff like you can crop and straighten, make adjustments. I don't know if you can downsize is the only, let's see. I don't think you can downsize in this program, but there is some editing features there that you can use, which is kind of nice.
And you said that in the deck that you're giving us, there's some recommendations on some sizing.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and in that photo P2 that I was on doing some editing, that has the resizing built into it. So if you were to just even not use any of the editing piece of photop.com, drop that photo in, hit export as, and then choose your quality, right? It'll tell you right there what that image export is going to be.
One of the questions was what smartphone out today takes the best quality pictures. You mentioned the newest iPhone. Is that, in your opinion, the best one right now, or is it kind of whatever the newest one of each version is?
Probably, yeah. Any of the ones nowadays are so good. It's pretty unreal. Just make sure I actually, in that sheet that I attached, has another Tech Tuesday video I did that shows you how to optimize your images for a smartphone. It's a YouTube training that I did, and I did it live with our agents in-house, so it's pretty cool. You know, that
was Chris's question about tips for agents using their phones. Cameras on phones are so sick right now. Would love to know your thoughts and some apps to use. And is it pretty inclusive in that video if we get that out to everybody, or do you want to share a little bit now?
It is. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, watch that video. There's tons of them out there. You could probably go on YouTube and research some of that, but the biggest thing is the lens, right? That's your limitation with a phone. You don't get a nice wide angle lens. Even the ones that come with it kind of look like fisheye, which you can make up for with some nice editing software. But other than that, you're kind of stuck with what you get no matter what.
Also, I think one of the things that Dan was bringing up, he was talking a lot about how he frames the shots and the detail. I think that's what so many people, when real estate professionals take their own photos, they miss the details. I mean, he would identify dog dishes in the background and toiletries in the bathrooms and those type of things. That just paying attention to those details are going to help you a ton. And then if editing is super overwhelming to you, I mean, there are editors out there. Like for those of you that were at Summit, Box Brownie was there, and they'll do virtual staging, but they also will edit your pictures too. And so, but they can't retake the picture. So your positioning of those photos is going to be an important aspect of that.
Yep. I spend the reason most of my photos are good is because I went to the house and made sure all the lights are on and the toilet seats are down, and it's that quick prep work that makes a huge difference.
Susan is echoing your toilet seats. She said, make sure they're down, everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
Tammy asked,
I'll show you some real cheap stuff that you can get that is super awesome. Like this right here. This whole setup is $40 on Amazon, and you can change the brightness of this light and the white balance and everything of this light. So you could actually add some light in your images with it, or just brighten yourself on zoom so you don't look like this dark shadowy figure. And so I can send you guys links to all this stuff here. But what I love about this, you have one, Matt, don't you? This guy.
Oh yeah, I'm using it right now.
Yeah, so it's gonna hold up anything, right? You're gonna attach it comes with this, which is like a smartphone adapter. And even if it's great for video too, you can just walk around with this and your smartphone and do a way better video than you ever could holding your smartphone around. It just reduces the shake when you have something firmly gripped in your hand like that, and you're walking around. You can get things pretty smooth with just something simple like this, and you can bend and contort this thing however you want. And I think it's what is it, $13?
Yeah, it's about that.
And it comes
And
with a remote too, so you can start and stop video and do agent videos with it.
do you remember how much, since we're talking about video, how much those Logi cameras were that we got?
They've got their own. I don't even know if you can get them anymore with the way Zoom's gone, but
Yeah.
they're around $80, $60, somewhere in there. Not a ton. And they attach to this too, which is nice. You have it, don't you?
Yeah, that's what I've been using on my Zoom calls because it makes the script, the video so much cleaner than like your built-in camera.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Tammy asked if there's any recommended clip-on lenses for smartphones.
I haven't, I don't have the experience with them to know. But what I would do is just look at the reviews on Amazon. Some of them have 3,000 reviews, almost 5-star. So I'm guessing they're really pretty good. If that many people have used it and said it's good, give them a chance. They're not very expensive. And all you need to do to find one of those lenses that work for your phone is look up your phone model. And I'm sure YouTube has a million samples from your phone with this lens. So just look up your phone model, wide angle lens, and then you'll find a million lenses out there that they just clip right over the top of your lens. And they could be good. I've heard good things. I have my own camera, so I don't need them. I don't use them.
Anybody else have questions out there? There's no dumb question.
No grandmas in the background. Yeah, you might want to crop grandma out. I've actually moved people in chairs that can't get out of their chair or something. I'll just turn their chair and be like, well, it's better than getting their leg in the shot. Sorry, grandma. It is what it is. If you want to amp up your game, you can get something like this. I'll show you. This is just a 3-axis gimbal. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Oh, which can be kind of trippy, but it'll keep the camera smooth for you no matter where you go with it. They're around you can actually get some for your smartphone for, I don't know, $100, $150. I think I bought this one used for $150. A little bit of a learning curve to these things to get them to balance and everything else. But if you're going to do video walkthroughs of your listings, and you can do nice selfie walkthroughs with your phone, this is a great option. And they're just called gimbals.
Is it a brand of that one? Do you know what that brand is?
Some Chinese Fui Tech. I don't know.
So just Google search gimbals and you'll be able to kind of see similar items.
Yeah. A lot of companies make them. So you just go on Amazon, look up smartphone gimbal, or just Google best smartphone gimbal, and you'll find a million ones you can use.
The other thing too to remember is one of the main reasons that we're doing this as a Tech Tuesday is because most of you probably don't want to become photographers for your own listings, and some of you may. But knowing that the primary purpose of this, at least in the state of Washington, and we have a lot of people from our office on this call, but in Washington State, we can't hire photographers during our current stay-at-home orders. But as real estate brokers, we've got limited access to do listings, and we can take our own photos. And so Dan got inspired and said, well, if realtors can take photos, but they don't know how, then let's put something together to give them some basic tips to do this. And so that's why he's offering some ideas around inexpensive ways to do it. Maybe you do buy the clip-on lens for your iPhone camera because it's inexpensive and it will do the job for the time being, because hopefully in the next handful of weeks, you'll be hiring out a photographer again. But so take all of these different pieces and kind of understand that not everybody's going to want to become the photography expert for their listings. And for those of you that do, this was going to be a great little jump off point for you.
Yeah, I hope it helps you guys. If you have any questions or about equipment, et cetera, just reach out to me. My email's in that presentation. I can send it out to everyone.
Maybe what we'll do, I know for our own office, we post all of our Tech Tuesdays in our internal sites. But since we've got a lot of brokers and owners and maybe even agents from other offices around the country, maybe what we can do is just post a link in the Culture page or something that they can get access to. So we'll figure out how to get you guys a copy of this video if you want to rewatch it, or if there were people, I know Marianne had to jump off because she had a situation to deal with. So we'll make sure you guys have access to it.
Cool.
All right.
Anything else?
Any other questions before we sign off?
Thank you.
You are very welcome. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks
I hope
everyone.
it was
Thanks,
helpful.
Matt. Appreciate the invite, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, you bet.
it's good to see some of you.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Take care, everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you, you too, man.